Did you see Davis's last fight against Roach?
Yes.
You did see it?
Yeah.
Because I know you don't, these days, you don't always watch all the fights. And what'd you think of the fight?
I thought Roach won the fight. It was a close fight.
You see Davis?
I think Davis has to start taking boxing seriously. You know, it's not just a media kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know the kid.
I think would beat Davis. I really believe that. But that's why they do the fights, you know. You get in the ring and you determine who's better.
Including those related to networks. The announcement of the TKO Riyadh season deal. Bob Arum is now one of many boxing experts who think the March 1st fight between Lamont Roach and Gervonta Davis was unfair. He believes the officials were working against Roach. Even in a round where Davis looked sloppy, all three, judges still gave him the win. This made Arum question the fight's fairness. While he supports a rematch, he hopes the judges won't be biased again because the whole world will be.
He seems sort of ordinary.
In that fight, to you. Do you think, you know, he wins the rematch, though? Perhaps he comes in with a better mind state?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know the kid.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's capable of changing.
What made you want to, usually, sometimes you don't watch.
Legendary boxing promoter Bob Arum gave a strong warning to Gervonta Davis after his controversial draw against Lamont Roach on March 1st. Arum believes Davis looked weak and average in the fight and needs to take boxing seriously again. I thought Roach won. It was a close fight, Arum told Sean Zittel. Davis needs to start focusing on boxing. It's not just about media hype. He looked ordinary, and I'm not sure if he can change. Davis, who is undefeated at 30-01, struggled against Roach and even went down on one knee in the 9th round. However, the referee did not count it as a knockdown.
Tune in that time. You wanted to get a good look at him?
Yeah, I want to get a look at him because he's been mentioned as a possible opponent for fighters that I promote.
Are you looking at Keyshawn Davis as potentially like the flagship fighter of the company now? The guy to build around?
I really think
Beats him. I think Teofimo beats him. And I think Lomachenko beats him. Well, Tank Davis is an excellent fighter, and he's a big attraction. So sure, we would like to match any of the guys that you've mentioned against Tank Davis and see how well they would do. I like our guys to win the fight, but that's why they do the fights, right? So, again, we're open to any of that.
Davis will likely have a rematch with Roach soon, but it's not confirmed yet. He could choose a different opponent instead. Their first fight ended in a majority decision draw. 115, 113, 114, 114, 114, 114. Roach has appealed the result because of a controversial decision by referee Steve Willis in round 9. Davis went down on one knee right after Roach landed a left hand. Willis started a 10 count, but then stopped.
You know, as far as Tank Davis is concerned, I think that more and more we're talking with BBC and we'll be making fights with them.
Is part of
Davis's kneel down had been ruled a knockdown. Roach likely would have won on all three judges' scorecards. Two of the judges had scored round 9 in favor of Davis, but if the knockdown had been counted, they would have likely scored it 10-8 for Roach. This would have changed the final scores to 114, 113, 114, 113, and 115, 112, all in Roach's favor. The New York State Athletic Commission, NYSAC, typically uses instant replay to overturn incorrect referee decisions. However, due to a technical issue, a review wasn't possible on fight night. Interview. The New York State Athletic Commission, NYSAC, admitted that Roach should have been given a knockdown in the 9th round and that referee Steve Willis made a mistake. However, even though NYSAC has the power to change the result and...
Judge at the ringside, Eric Marlinski scores it on 115 to 113 in favor of Gervonta Davis. Judges Steve Weisfeld and Glenn Feldman both scores about 114 to 114, even a draw. The decision is a majority draw.
Since Davis holds a WBA title, the WBA has the power to order him to fight Roach again. If he refuses, he could be stripped of his belt. WBA President Gilberto Mendoza told The Ring that he is ready to mandate a rematch. Davis also has the option to voluntarily fight Roach again, as his contract included a rematch clause in case he didn't win, which he didn't. Confirming his intentions, Davis posted on social media, "Say no more. I'm pushing for a rematch." Interview. Legendary top-rank promoter Bob Arum.
Going through your mind when you heard the decision?
Nobody like a draw, you know, from a guy that get knockouts and things like that, but it's cool. I feel like if we fight again, I could do more. And I should have did more. I was lost in the, I lost track in the rounds. That's why we need, what is it called? Yeah, man.
Gervonta Davis currently holds the WBA title, Shakur Stevenson is the WBC champion, and Vasily Lomachenko has the IBF belt. However, Bob Arum believes that rising contender Keshin Davis can beat them all. I favor Keshin over anybody in the lightweight division right now, including Lomachenko, Arum told YSM Sports Media. If Lomachenko comes back, I don't think he'll be as great as before. He was never really big enough for lightweight. He would...
I didn't know what round it was. Facts.
Tank, Eric Blum from DailyMail.com. First off, your coach just said, can you confirm, did you get your hair done 2 days before the fight?
Yeah. I ran water over it today, but I must ain't do it enough.
Can you describe what the feeling was like in the ring?
Promoter Bob Arum knows that taking on the new forces in boxing alone won't be easy, so why not team up? That seems to be the message he hinted at in a recent interview. With its unique format and promise to make boxing great again, Riyadh Season's TKO Boxing has shaken up the sport. There's still a lot of uncertainty about how it will operate, how it will work with other promotions and sanctioning bodies, and what it means for the future of boxing. Uncertainty often creates insecurity, and to prevent problems, a strong
Towel out to get the burn out of your eyes, or what was going on? And
I didn't want to get caught. I didn't want to get caught while my eyes was burning. And you know, like, you can get knocked out like that. So I'd rather take the knee than, you know. But I didn't really know that you can, like, get disqualified for all that. Or, like, when you start counting, I'm like, what the hell? But I don't know. It's cool.
Do you want that rematch next?
The conversation started with the possibility of Vasily Lomachenko's return, and then Bob Arum talked about the recent title fight between Lamont Roach Jr. and Gervonta Davis. Like many others, Arum felt that Roach Jr. had done enough to deserve the win. This led to a discussion about a potential title unification involving top ranks Keshin Davis, Tank Davis, and Shakur Stevenson. Arum ruled out a fight between Keshin Davis, who he compared to Sugar Ray Leonard.
And the new is part of that prompting you guys to work together more when in the past you may not have.
That is correct.
Okay. So that's competition in the marketplace is a good thing, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you think you make that Xander Zayas Fundora fight?
Yes.
Zittel reflected, the involvement of Turki Alalshik and the rise of Saudi-backed fights are part of a larger trend encouraging U.S. promoters to collaborate more than before. Arum agreed, acknowledging that competition from Saudi-backed promotions is pushing U.S. promoters to work together more closely. Zittel pointed out another potential showdown, like the one between PBC's Sebastian Fundora and Top Rank's Xander Zayas, and asked, so, is it more important now than ever for you to have a good relationship to put together fights? Arum responded firmly, Absolutely, absolutely. He went on to explain, the Saudis are paying a lot of money for the fights they're putting on, and we make sure our fighters get a piece of that. But to make big
Fight for both of them, and it'll create a lot of interest.
So is it more important now than ever that you guys do have a good relationship putting together fights?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because the Saudis are paying a lot of money for the fights that they put on, and we avail ourselves of that money with our fighters. But to make big fights on our
response, Arum dismissed the previously existing barriers, including those related to networks. The announcement of the TKO Riyadh season deal raised concerns in the boxing world, and when Oscar de la Hoya was questioned, he admitted feeling a bit offended. I heard that they passed the reins of boxing to Dana White, and that comment made me feel a little offended, said the Golden Boy. He added, so, what I'm going to do is stay in my lane, do what I do for Golden Boy and DAZN, and give fight fans the best fights possible. As Sean Zittel pointed out, boxing could evolve to resemble the corporate world in some ways, with increased competition among stakeholders leading to better fights and events for fans. From a broader perspective, the rise of Saudi-backed TKO boxing might ultimately be beneficial for the sport rather than harmful as many currently fear interview. Soon after the Gervonta
cases, we need to work together with BBC, and they need to work with us.
How do you think the logistics of that work itself out network-wise? Because those were always roadblocks in the past.
Yeah, but there aren't anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
for some reason, Timothy Bradley believes that Lamont Roach has Gervonta Davis's number. Styles make fights, man, Bradley said. Lamont Roach and anyone who can take a punch and keep coming can give Tank trouble. Roach is mentally tough. He was able to execute his game plan, move forward at the right times, and control a lot of the pressure. He hits hard enough to earn Tank's respect. He landed shots on Tank, was there battling mentally, going back and forth. Roach handled his business and did a great
interview with Prime, we have a great relationship with Prime, particularly in Japan.
With the new
Inoue.
Right. Do you I know you've mentioned others, DAZN, Netflix is getting into. What do you think
Speaking about the potential rematch, Bradley said that a win for Davis would help restore his reputation with fans, despite the controversy from the first fight. Tank knows what he brings to the table, Bradley explained. He knows he's tough opposition, and his style is tough as well. I'm sure he'll go back to the drawing board and see what they can improve on. They'll put their best foot forward. Bradley also pointed out that Lamont Roach, putting Tank on the canvas in the 9th round, should serve as all the motivation Tank needs to come back strong.
Pay-per-view with Prime, we have a great relationship with Prime, particularly in Japan.
With the new
Inoue.
Right. Do you
Bradley expressed his frustration, saying, the fact that you got a draw, the fact that you had a big fight lined up with Jake Paul after this, and now you've got to wait and do this rematch. If this doesn't motivate you, I don't know what will. He also added that the WBA lightweight champion's name is being dragged through the mud, and many of the fans who were once on his side are now turning against him. That's the reality of boxing, Bradley pointed out. To avoid this, Tank has a lot to prove, not only to himself, but also to his fans. Bradley's message was clear. If Tank handles his business in the rematch and does what he should have done the first time around, all the negativity will go away. Fans are quick to criticize.
No, you've mentioned others, DAZN, Netflix is getting into. What do you think Top Rank lands after ESPN?
Well, all I know.
After the rematch, it's back to bigger fights for Tank, possibly even that showdown with Jake Paul. Bradley seems to think Paul is the next fight for Tank. But first, he has to take care of the mess with Roach. If you missed the news, let me remind you the Jake Paul vs. Gervonta Davis fight was actually in the works a few weeks ago. Boxing insider Dan Rafael shared an update on X saying, sources, Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul exhibition was in the works until the Lamont Roach draw. Tank instead invokes rematch right, June sequel planned. Yep, you read that right. If Tank had won against Lamont Roach Jr., we'd likely be talking...
It's going to be interesting to see, man.
So you see the same when Gervonta rematches Lamont Roach.
Could be. Yeah, because the styles make fights, man. And
54-year-old promoter later confirmed in an interview with Boxing News that the talks about a fight between Jake Paul and Tank Davis were very real. They were definitely talking. They were absolutely 100% talking, he said. Had Tank Davis won that fight against Lamont Roach, I think it would have been a very good bet that they were going to set up a fight between Jake Paul and Tank. Multiple sources also told Fight Freaks Unite that discussions for the Jake Paul fight were already happening behind the scenes. Now it's a matter of whether they'll settle their business after Tank finishes his rematch with Lamont Roach, either in June or July. Do you think another fighter should face Gervonta Davis? How do you see that fight ending? That's all for now. For the best updates on news, moments, events, and actions in the world of boxing, stay connected by subscribing to our YouTube channel and turning on notifications. Until next time.
he handled his business. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. He did a great job. Him and his team had him ready. You know, the second time around, I mean, look, Tank, no.